about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Dali, 1-877-DOCDALI. So which bread is the healthiest? Do you guys eat a lot of bread? What's your favorite bread? I was at a restaurant a few months ago. No. Actually, I think it was a year ago. And they bring out a choice of breads. There was like a pretzel. There was like a French baguette. I was like, ooh, this is like fancy bread. I wanted like one of each. That like this cheese bread, this onion bread thing. I wanted to pick the healthiest, but the healthiest usually doesn't taste as good, right? I'm not a big whole wheat 9-grain bread person, even though that's probably the healthiest. I will eat some sourdough. It's not my favorite because it's sour. I think I like French bread more than sourdough, but I'll eat sourdough as long as I can butter it up. I like rye bread. I really do. I have to avoid the seeds because I have diverticula. Those are pockets in the colon that could that a seed could sit in and fester and cause an infection. But I like rye bread. Wonder Bread White. I haven't eaten that in decades, but that's probably one of my favorites. I didn't get to eat it a lot as a kid because, again, it was expensive. You know, bread was, my mom and dad bought whatever was on sale. And I remember my mom saying, we got to buy whole wheat. And I didn't really like the wheat bread. I wasn't a big bread eater. I didn't like crusts. But I got to tell you, Wonder White, that, oh my gosh, that looks so tasty. But I didn't eat a lot of it. I could probably count the number on my hands, how many times I've had that, unless like a restaurant gave me toast. But I don't even eat the toast that a restaurant gives me. But a lot of the bread we eat, we need to avoid. They have, refined sugars and preservatives in them, and they could cause our sugar to spike. Joe Rogan, I guess, brought up on his podcast concerns about the bread offerings in America. He says, basically, our bread is blinked. He said a bad word. He said, if you go overseas and go and eat bread in Italy, you won't feel bad at all. I did have bread in Italy. Ooh, it's yummy. It's nice. It's good. You can buy Parisian and Italian type loaves in America, but they're expensive. When I go to the grocery store, if I need sandwich bread, I look at my Albertsons coupons and I see what's on sale. And, it's hard to make a sandwich out of a big sourdough bowl. You have to cut it. I don't cut bread well. I understand there's bread slicers out there. I should probably invest in one. So what are some of the healthiest breads? So according to Fox News, a New Jersey-based dietitian, Erin Polinsky-Wade, author of 2-Day Diabetes Diet, says it's not necessary to completely avoid bread to improve your health, because not all varieties are created equal, which we agree with. So the first ingredient they recommend is making sure you have whole grain. If you have refined flours, like white bread as opposed to whole grain, refined flours can cause rapid spikes and crashes in your blood sugar, can cause weight gain, increase your type 2 diabetes. So whole grain, high fiber breads break down more slowly, help stabilize your blood sugar, improve long-term glycemic control. They add more fiber. So whole grain's obviously healthier. A lot of breads have salt added to them. You might grab some bread from a grocery store. This is something I've noticed. She didn't bring that up, but I've noticed that they'll add salt, and so you're like, ooh, this tastes good. All right, don't fall for that. However, if you really can't get through eating a healthy slice of bread and you just want the crap bread, sometimes you can add just a touch of salt. I don't usually recommend that because I don't want your salt. I think we consume too much salt, but sometimes that can make the salt taste better. There's Ezekiel bread. Ezekiel bread has sprouted whole grains and legumes, minimal processing, limited sugars and preservatives. I don't know if I've had Ezekiel bread. I might have gotten it. I mean, it's a chore to eat. Some of these breads that are really grainy, I mean, your mouth gets tired chewing them. But then again, you're going to eat less. You're not going to swallow a whole peanut butter and jelly Wonder White bread sandwich in one gulp if you're trying to chew through Ezekiel legumes and whole grains. When you look at the list, like sourdough, they say sourdough has a lower glycemic index. Glycemic index we talk about where you don't have such a high spike in your sugar, a lower, like with fruits, your sour tart berries, like your boysenberries and your blueberries and your raspberries have a lower glycemic index than something like cantaloupe or grapes. So if you have diabetes, we recommend a lower glycemic index type foods. And they say sourdough has a lower glycemic index. We talked about this on our show years ago. And so it'll turn to sugar because your bread is a carb. It'll turn to sugar slower. And that's what you kind of need. In terms of other breads that can help you avoid spikes in sugars, Fox News talks about stone ground flour bread, the Ezekiel bread, sourdough, pumpernickel. Pumpernickel is, I think the Cheesecake Factory has pumpernickel bread with some little almond chips on it. Not bad. And then, of course, rye bread. So I like to eat as little bread as possible. Like, if I have a hot dog, I'll just eat the dog. I just try to cut, because if I'm going to have carbs, I want to save it for chocolate. But there are healthier breads out there, and they're usually less white, more grainy, harder to chew. But the harder to chew and the slower to chew, the better. And don't lather it up with butter. Now, there's ways to get bread into you if you need to. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Let's face it, guys. We're living in times where the truth is becoming more suppressed and censorship is increasing at an alarming rate, especially on social media platforms. It's Clyde, and I want to tell you about a safe and secure digital playground we put together just for you. It's Aftermath.media. You get access to thousands of Ground Zero archives and podcasts, along with our private social media groups with your basic membership starting at only $7 a month. Each subscription includes tech support, access to the RSS feeds, along with our own chat room and Telegram channel. In addition, the premium membership includes research study groups, webinars, a document and movie library, a live video stream of Ground Zero, a monthly Zoom chat with me, and other bonus content. Be sure to check out our yearly specials as well. Sign up today while you're thinking about it. Sign up at Aftermath.media. Again, that's Aftermath.media.
back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube. Click like and subscribe. Okay, so, I really wasn't into the whole Jeff Bezos, Lauren Sanchez wedding. I have been to Venice. Venice is beautiful, but it's just really hard for me to watch, rich people that get to, while I have to work and I'm busy, and they get to hang out with Orlando Bloom, who I'm a big fan of, Legolas from Lord of the Rings. Now, I'm not jealous. It's just, why am I going to watch a whole bunch of other people have fun and what are they wearing? I don't care what people are wearing. And I don't watch a lot of the pre-Oscars and things like that because I really don't care about what people are wearing. I understand maybe if I was into designer clothes, that might interest me, but I'm not. If it doesn't sell at Ross Dress for Less or TJ Maxx, probably not too interested in it. But Lauren Sanchez used to be really beautiful. And one of my listeners is asking me about, what is she doing to herself and should somebody tell her to stop? Because of the way the face is starting to look like, I guess they call it Catwoman. I don't know. I don't think we have any confirmation of any cosmetic procedures that she does. Is it facelifts or Botox or fillers but we see this a lot where people are overdoing it as it pertains to their plastic surgery. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, well, Dr. Daliah, you kind of need some plastic surgery. So, maybe you should lay off the criticism. I don't criticize anybody for having plastic surgery. If that's something you need and you want, go for it. I think she's my fourth cousin or fifth cousin, Jennifer Grey, had a nose job. She was the one in Ferris Bueller Days Off and Wolverine and Red Dawn, and Dirty Dancing. And she's the daughter of Joel Grey. And Joel Grey is, I think, my mom's third or fourth cousin. Once she got the nose job, unrecognizable. Still beautiful woman. I thought she was beautiful before the nose job, beautiful after the nose job. But if that's something you need, if that's something you feel you need, all the power to you. But I see people making mistakes. Now, Lauren Sanchez is, I think, 55. She looks incredible for 55, but she's getting that look like she's doing too much. I think Meg Ryan had that look. No, was it Meg Ryan? Yeah, maybe Meg Ryan. Who was the woman married to Antonio Banderas? She was in that, where she was with Harrison Ford, Working Girl. She also, I think, was starting to, I don't know. I don't know what they did, but when their faces change and they look very like a Joker with the change in their smile, it's a sign that they could be doing too much. And I get it. We are aging differently than our parents and grandparents. I remember thinking my mom looked old at 37. She was getting salt and pepper gray hair. She was, I've had a gray eyebrow and I've seen grays, but I've never really had a chance to actually be gray because I've been dyeing my hair since I could remember. So we've been doing makeup differently. We've been learning how to do makeup. We've been adding lashes. We've been, I don't know what I'm going to do as it pertains to plastic surgery. I know after I breastfed, I had to do something with the boobies. So the only cosmetic surgery I've had has been a lift because I just wanted to be able to tie my shoes and go running without the boobie being in the way. And I loved having a lift. My doctor was Dr. Alexander. He did a great job. This was, I think, 15 years ago. And so that's all I've had. I should probably do there's stuff I should do, but I don't want to get started. And also, plastic surgery is really expensive. I got to tell you, the demand for plastic surgery is ridiculous. We have some numbers coming from, this is being reported by Fox News and the American Society of Plastic Surgeons. The growth in cosmetic surgeries is going. There were, I I think in 2024, there were 1.6 million cosmetic surgical procedures performed. Liposuction and breast augmentation topped the list. Yeah, I probably should do lipo. But I don't want to do lipo. Because if you're distributing fat, the fat's going to go somewhere. And so if I think I could, get certain areas fat-free, the fat's just going to go other places. So I remember, I think it was my aunt or somebody in my family was telling me, sorry, my allergies, that she had a friend who tried to lipo every part of her body, and then all of a sudden her neck got really fat. Because when the fat has to deposit, it's going to deposit wherever cells are. But liposuction, there were 349,728 procedures in 2024. Breast augmentation, 306,000. Tummy tuck, abdominoplasty, 171,000. Breast lift, 153,000. Eyelid surgery, the blepharoplasty, 120,000. That might be something I need if these droop. But again, I'm so afraid of how I look. I mean, I'm not really liking how I look now. I would be really fearful that I mess it up with a cosmetic surgeon. I'm actually surprised that these numbers aren't even higher. They say surgical procedures have grown by 1% since 2023. Thigh and buttock lifts were 3%. Arm and neck lifts rose 2%. Well, you're going to see these because also, like, if you lose weight, I notice when I go up and down in weight, I have more hanging on my arms. The more I lift weights also. I used to lift weights. Oh, I loved weightlifting. I did aerobics and weightlifting in the 80s. And so I gained a lot of upper body muscle. But, then, when you don't keep up the lifting, then, and I don't want to because I don't want to look that big up here. And then you could get some skin sagging. But with people on Ozempic and weight loss drugs, we're going to see people having more sagging skin. So I think, these procedures are going to be on the rise. It's just they're expensive. And when you gain the weight back, I've known many women that have had tummy tucks. They gained the weight back and there's still pain on the tummy tuck. And you can't tell they ever had one because they gained the weight back. So, there's risks you have where once you start, you can't stop. And it's not so much an addiction. It's so I had a friend who got some Botox done. When it wore off, she looked more wrinkly than when it started. Now, was she really more wrinkly, wrinkle for wrinkle? Is it that I didn't notice she had the wrinkles until it got smooth? Or do you have a rebound? And I think a lot of people get this rebound. And so because your skin has a memory, there's an elasticity or a lack of elasticity. And so once you stop, it's noticeable. So then you have to do it again. Then you have to do it again. And then you're like, well, if I'm already doing this, why don't I do this? Or why don't I do this? Also, you got to remember these cosmetic surgeons, many of them want to make a profit. You are a customer that walked in their door. They're going to suggestive sell. Just as a waitress or a waiter is going to say, or a food server, would you like an appetizer? Would you like dessert? They're going to suggestive sell. They're going to suggestive sell. Well, maybe you need this. Maybe you need this. And they have to do it carefully because they don't want to insult you and make you run out crying. He said, I need a facelift. But they might say, look, I know you're doing this, but if you do this, this might actually save you money in the long run. You're like, ooh, I'm listening. And I'm not saying that they're scam artists. Many cosmetic and plastic surgeons, I'm so grateful for what they could do, especially with people with breast cancer and the reconstruction, lip lacerations, cancer on the face. These cosmetic surgeons are amazing with what they could do. But I think Lauren Sanchez is running into this looking like she's getting too much done. And it's not good. And she was a beautiful woman. She probably never had to go through that, So for those of you that are thinking about starting cosmetic surgery, I would get the opinion of your family doctor, get the opinion of your dermatologist, and get a couple opinions from cosmetic surgeons and see and do your research. And then talk to people who have had it. And, I just see, I could tell when somebody does too much because their skin is very shiny and glowing. Their facial expressions don't match what they're saying, and their mouth looks weird. And I hate to say that, because I think that's not the beauty they're trying to highlight. 1-877 Doc Dolly. Don't go away. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dolly, 1-877-DOCDALI. So have you guys heard of the term red shirting? Red shirting. Now, it doesn't have to do with MAGA. It's where a parent delays their child going into kindergarten by a year so that they could be more ready, whether it's socially, academically, emotionally, athletically. And so because the younger, smaller kids get beat up on, picked on, struggle, many parents have looked at the idea of waiting till they're older. This way they get to be taller, more athletic. They get to be chosen for the teams, picked on less. So red shirting has become a lot more popular. Well, we're being told that in D.C., they have officially ended it. And they are cracking down on families who want to enroll their kids into kindergarten late. The public schools said principals will allow families to delay enrollment if there are developmental concerns, but now we're being told that they're not making any exceptions, even if there's a doctor's note. So there's, I guess, a lot of parents concerned about this. And I guess in the past, DC occasionally let some kids with birthdays close to kindergarten cutoff wait a whole year to enroll, or red shirt. Hence, 6-year-olds could start school a whole year older than the new 5-year-olds. And I think the cutoff was September 30th. This year, the school district is rejecting requests by more than a dozen families wanting to enroll into like elementary schools, I guess, like highly rated ones like Lafayette. This is being reported by, Axios. And so they say the family is now being told that the child will have to go to first grade. If they, let's say, were, they say if somebody did an extra year of pre-K and they're 6 years old, they need to go into first grade. They won't do kindergarten. They'll skip kindergarten. So parents are mixed with this. And, this red shirt idea is interesting. I saw how kids were in school, and the shorter boys didn't seem to do as well as the taller boys. As it pertained to athletics, if you were younger and you weren't as tall or athletic, there's a big difference between a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old. or an 11-year-old and a 12-year-old. On the other end, if you have a girl, there might not be as many advantages to holding them back, because if a girl starts to develop when she's 10 or 11, she gets picked on pretty cruelly by kids. And so, research is mixed, in terms of, what's better for kids. Is it that they're better prepared? Keeping them delaying, it's mixed. In terms of, do they have higher academic outcomes? Are they then more mature? Or is it that, then they start having issues as it pertains to, sexual maturity and getting, teased. And then, here's my thing with it. All right. I don't like the fact that you have a child that's 2-3 years old that would love to learn letters, learn things. And they can't if they don't go to preschool, and they could only start when they're kindergarten age. I had a family member, really, really smart kid, but the parents did not want to put that child into preschool because the child would get sick and colds and things like that. So the child basically just played games and watched cartoons until kindergarten. I think kids could do a lot at the younger ages. But where we have it now is kids of the same age are in the same class. And a year is that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time difference between kids. But, we're not going to divide it into subsets, 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 5 3/4. We're not going to do that. But, parents want their kids. If a parent wants to delay it, it's because, they don't want their kid to be disadvantaged. But then the other argument people have is if you're lower income, if you don't have the squeaky wheel parent that gets the principal to listen to them, now your kid is at a disadvantage because these parents are putting in their older kids into the class. And now your kid, who's 5, is now up against 6-year-olds. So the disadvantage starts to shift. And that's what a lot of people are concerned about. So we don't really have a consensus on what we should do. And so apparently the school might be making this decision because it got out of hand. And once it got out of hand, they were probably like, look, you know what? Here's the cutoff, September 30th. If your child is not 5 by September 30th, they don't go to kindergarten. If they are 5 by September 30th, they do. Now, one of my sons was born in October. So he was almost a year older. But they would not let him start kindergarten early. We wanted him to. They said no, so we waited. So he was in a pre-K, and he did fine academically. And he got along fine, but he was older. But that's because he had an end of October birthday. So I think what we're going to slowly start to see is I think schools and parents are really grappling with, how it was for me, and I went to 12 schools because my parents moved a lot, is you're going to get bullied, you're going to be at an advantage or a disadvantage, just live with it. And a lot of parents are like, no, we could improve things. We could piecemeal. We could a la carte my child's education to give him the best education. And that's kind of what parents want. And we're seeing a lot of parents take their kids out of school so that their child isn't lumped in with 30 or 35 other kids and get forgotten or be at a disadvantage. Also, many parents are having fewer kids. See, before, I think my mom had 4 kids, so she was like, just all of you go to school and leave me the hell alone. But when you only have one child, you're like, I am going to, build a kingdom for this child. I'm going to want this child to have the best of the best. I think that's nice, and it shows these parents love them, but that is a lot of pressure then on school districts. Now, schools have also been going the other way where they're all about teaching societal type stuff. and LGBTQAI plus and sexuality. And, you know, I said schools have to be different where the mornings are short, concrete, regular core classes, and the afternoons are all practical learning and exposing kids based on their age range to the trades, to all the different jobs out there, marketing, medicine, teaching, construction, plumbing, such that by the time they're all 16, they have an idea of what they might want to do in life. High school ends at 16, and then your 17 and 18 is your associate's degree or your trade, all still under the public school system, all under tax dollars, so you don't have to pay extra for free college, and everybody is able to get a job, at least with their associate's degree or a trade certificate by the time they're 18. I think schools should be way different. But with the way they are now, there's a lot of problems with them. And I don't know how long it's going to take to restructure the school. But it needs to get restructured. And fast. And so, you know, the red shirting, we'll see what happens. You know, but if everybody takes advantage and now your 5-year-old is in class with a bunch of 6-year-olds, you know, it's all about who could get the exemptions. 1-877 Doc Daliah, don't go away.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So President Donald Trump visited the detention camp for illegal immigrants and criminals in Florida's Everglades that is allegedly surrounded by alligators, and it's dubbed Alligator Alcatraz. Officials said they are going to prioritize deporting the worst of the worst first. It's a 3,000-bed facility set to become the largest migrant detention center in the United States. This is obviously in response to the open border and the lackadaisical attitude of wolves in sheep's clothing coming across the very porous border that Biden pretended to secure. So now we have multiple criminals among millions of people that came in, some of them innocent people, innocent refugees and asylum seekers. But wolves in sheep's clothing took advantage of the situation. And we have Aragua, other gangs, cartel members, nationals from countries who are spying on us, Iranian supercells, and who knows what else. So it's a 3,000-bed facility. The Florida National Guard members will be deputized as immigration, according to Fox News. Florida National Guard members will be deputized as immigration judges, allowing migrants to have hearings within 48 hours. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said, while Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem warned illegal migrants to self-deport or else risk ending up in the facility. Trump said the worst of the worst always first, and I think it's great government what we've done. He said nobody can ever forget what this group of people, Biden or whoever it was, it probably wasn't even Biden. He said, I don't think he even knew what the hell was going on. A small group of people who surrounded the Resolute desk, what they did to this country. And so, Governor DeSantis authorized the construction of this detention center. It's a sprawling property on the Everglades swamplands of Miami-Dade County under an emergency order. It only took 8 days to construct. They said it's going to cost $450 million per year to operate, but the Sunshine State will be fully reimbursed by the federal government, according to Fox News. The property is a former airport that has been outfitted with sturdy tent structures to house the thousands of illegal immigrants. The detention center earned its name because it's in the Everglades. And people said, well, wait a second, this is going to hurt the reptiles. It's going to hurt a lot of the nature. It's already a built entity. They're not now taking natural Everglades and adding asphalt to it. There are massive reptiles such as alligators and pythons, and they say alligators could serve as a deterrent for escape. So, it's a shame we're in this situation. We should have never, illegal immigrants and people getting through and coming across. I mean, it used to be few and far between. And we watched millions come across. We watched people throw 2-year-olds over the walls and helping people come across and finding places that were holes in the wall and areas to get people in. And so, to be naive and think that criminals didn't also try to squeeze through is obtuse. And knowing that we have people who have already killed, innocent children and American citizens and other Americans that are here in this country, and people who did this should have never been here. Now we have to do a massive cleanup effort. I don't think anybody wanted to be in this situation, but that's why Trump was voted in. And then where do you store them? Where do people go? And so Florida having this facility that was an old airport, isn't adding any more, shall we say, new construction to, some of the delicate nature there. And it's something that sadly has to be until, we can make sure that we got all the criminals, which is it's a tall order. We have a lot of innocent people here, and Trump right now is concentrating on getting the criminals out, which he has support. Refugees, asylum seekers, we do have a pathway, an immigration pathway. The option to self-deport, I don't know how many people have taken that option. But if you are concerned that, if you think, well, you could, ride it out for 4 years, I don't know if I would take that risk. But then again, many people did leave countries where things were bad. I mean, it took my family 20 years to finally be allowed to come to the United States. When they were allowed to come, they learned the language, they took their classes, they took the citizenship test, and they paid taxes. So, there is a pathway. It's just, I understand people don't want to wait as long as my family had to wait. I get that. But, unfortunately, now we have, criminals and other individuals that snuck in, and we have to address them. So we'll see what happens with this. We'll keep you posted. In the meantime, the big, beautiful bill passed the Senate. It was razor thin. It needed J.D. Vance to break the tie. passing 51-50. This big, beautiful bill has tax cuts, spending legislation, a lot of things that middle America wants, like no taxes on Social Security, no taxes on tips, no tax on overtime. It doubles the child tax credit, as well as standard deduction for tax filers. It also includes a popular $1,000 Trump investment account for newborn babies. They say to pay for the massive tax cuts, the Senate is choosing to rein in certain spending programs. However, one of these programs is Medicaid that has caused a lot of concern. In terms of Medicaid, what the biggest change they want is if you can work and you're not a caretaker and you don't have kids and you're able-bodied and you're not sick and you want Medicaid, you work. Even if it's just part-time. So that's kind of been popular with a lot of people. But there's still some concern. And so now it goes back to the House. It passed by a narrow, thin margin in the Senate. The House now doesn't like some of the things in it, and so they're going to now, deal with it. But, the House originally passed it to send it to the Senate. The Senate made some changes. If the House approves it, it goes to Donald Trump's desk by July 4th. That's the plan. Lisa Murkowski was the one that was one of the final holdouts, and she actually voted for the bill. From what we understand, there were certain carve-outs to protect Alaskans from certain Medicaid and food assistance cuts. From what I understand, though, the food assistance, again, had to do with people who are able-bodied, didn't have children, no junk food. No junk food on this. So I'm kind of interested to see what the changes are, because I think it's a bipartisan and nonpartisan sort of recommendation to make sure supplemental nutrition programs provide nutrition. The tax credit's pretty popular. Now, border security efforts. I know some people are saying, yeah, but it's going to be expensive. But border security needs this. Trump had funding for the wall back in his first term. Biden takes down the wall, leaves the millions and millions of dollars of supplies just sitting there, or gets rid of them, and now we got to spend again to build the wall. But I think America has learned, especially from the last election, that it is very, very popular to have a secure border. So we'll see what happens. I know a lot of green energy initiatives might be cut. We know we've had some issues with some of the solar panels and killing birds, and we know some environmentalists have had some issues. There's a lot of environmentalists concerned about like the Tesla cars and the heaviness and the debris from the tires. So I think the green energy initiatives, taking everybody off gas stoves to electric, these are things that could also increase our carbon footprint. So those things need to be researched a little better before we spend more money. 1-877-Daliah. Don't go away. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.